Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective as well. So, our first one we begin with is this statement here, and this is a quote: Crypto takes things like shapes or pictures and encrypts in a way that it can't be copied, i.e., a Bitcoin can't be copied. It is almost impossible, in inverted commas, to counterfeit it and copying it. Sometimes it's just a string, something, it's a character. I'm just copying. It was a statement, so I literally just typed how they were saying it. And obviously, in writing, things don't always act the same as types of speech. Now, this is a very brief one to address and very simple. Here we have a classic example of the wrong perception of what Bitcoin really is. It doesn't encrypt any picture or image or shape or anything like that in any particular way. Like we described before, Bitcoin is just a number, and we give an analogy of that number being a location. And we place value or place information in that location that only the ones with the private keys can access and spend that money in that location. What does it mean to access and spend? It means they can form a transaction, like we demonstrated in the previous video. They can form a transaction, and in that transaction, there will be their digital signature, a signature that can only come from the owner of the keys. So it's a digital signature, a mathematical signature that can only be verified to demonstrate and prove to the world that I have permission to transfer wealth or bitcoins from this address to another address. Bitcoin doesn't take any other image or anything like that, and doesn't encrypt anything. It is basically a mathematical formula. The technical details, mathematical system. The technical details are not that will be on the scope of this video. But the point here is the tasawwur. It is not taking a crypto or a coin and encrypting that coin. It's not doing that. Bitcoins come into existence when a miner mines a block. In that block, he has a transaction that he makes himself, and he says that a certain amount of Bitcoin will go to this address, i.e., his address. And that Bitcoin came out of nowhere, meaning that it was issued in that block. When we say came out of nowhere, we don't mean it has no value, because the value obviously was down to the effort put to finding that unique hash, that unique number that encrypts, signs off that block. But Bitcoin is not a string or an image. It's definitely not a coin or an image of a coin. As we said to you before, Bitcoin is a means of communication. As for the part we mentioned about almost impossible to counterfeit, not really. It's actually impossible to counterfeit, because, like I said, in order for you to get a Bitcoin in the first place, you have to find that hash. That hash is extremely difficult to find, and when you do find it, that's proof that you deserve it. That's your reward for finding it. So it's not counterfeiting it, it's actually earning it. And that coin will start off with the miner, and if he spends it, it goes to someone else, and if they spend it, it goes to someone else, and wherever it goes, we have a direct record track of where it came from, where it went, where it came from, where it went, where it came from, where it went. So there's no point where it can come out of nowhere, you could say, except at the issuance with the miner. So it's not almost impossible to counterfeit. It actually is impossible to counterfeit. There's no mechanism known to create a Bitcoin out of nothing that doesn't involve mining, because that's actually a scope outside. That's actually something outside the scope of even the programmer himself. I hope it's been useful and beneficial. So this is, by the way, this was a part of a longer discussion that the Sheikh mentioned, but I just wanted to answer that mistake in understanding of what Bitcoin actually is. And I guess on a side note, even if it was an encryption of a picture or an image, that doesn't actually have anything against Bitcoin. That doesn't prove its existence or lack of that thereof. Actually, it's actually easier to actually counterfeit pounds and dollars. So does that make pounds and dollars not a valid currency? So I object to this point purely from the fact of the wrong perception of what Bitcoin is. And secondly, that even if that was a correct perception, it's not even an objection towards Bitcoin itself. I hope you found this video useful. We will follow up each individual objection in its own isolated specific video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.